and when?
Right, well, my name is John Jefferies. I grew up from just before the war. I started as an apprentice in the aircraft industry with the ferry company, and in 1947 I managed to get transferred to what was referred to as the research department, to find myself involved in rockets in one form or another. And I started in conjunction with Westcott on the Beta 1 and Beta 2 motors. Les Broughton was the design engineer of the pumps, and I did the valves and the installations for the high angle launch vehicle and the supersonic for Beta 2. That's where I started. And then at the end of the programme on that work, went on to solids from there on. With Ferry, we had ground to air, blue sky, but they were stalk motors, they were 5-inch LAPs basically.
So the liquid projects that you were involved with, what were the applications for those engines?
Well, Beta 1 went in high angle launch effort. We fired mainly off Aberporth, purely a straightforward vertical lift research vehicle, really. Beta 2 never really came to fruition. It was a research for high-speed vehicle, supersonic, prior to the launch of the first supersonic aircraft, because there was very little known at that time of high-speed flight. And that's where Beta 2 came in. But
so this was a boost motor for a test vehicle?
No. It was a 16-inch high-speed rocket. We never, in fact, fired one for the simple reason that time caught up with us, and they decided that there was no need for it by the time we developed the thing. We did some static firings over here at Westcott. I'm not sure that there's a Beta 2 engine in their museum. I don't know about that.
And then you got involved with rocket with solid propellers.
With solids from there on, yeah.
Talk to me about what the applications were and some for those.
Well, so the first solids I was involved with was blue sky, air-to-air weapon. Not a lot to be said about that. Our trials were mainly off RAF Valley, using meteors, basically.
How did the work, it's probably a pretty obvious question, but how did the work between liquid and solid motors differ? You know, I mean, that's one of those sort of layman's questions that, you know.
There is no relationship between the two, to be honest. It was just, okay, there was so little work done on liquid engines in this country that apart from these very early ones, ours were with HTP, hydrogen peroxide, and alcohol. But nothing further progressed in that field at all. I mean, liquids virtually sort of dribbled away to next to nothing until the times of the big ones came along. But I never did get to Blue Streak.
I mean, to be honest, I was talking to the last gent, and in a lot of ways, I mean, certainly liquid rocket technology seemed to peak really in the 1960s, didn't it? Doesn't seem to have made that many advances since then.
No, well, we had no further contracts. Nobody wanted anything. Well, that's why we dropped out of the picture.
But generally, I mean, you know, even looking at America and Russia and so on, I mean, the majority of the work seems to have been done in the 1960s. There haven't been any really big advances since that time, seems to me, anyway.
No, no, because in 1954 I left Ferry anyway. That's when I joined Norman there at BHA at Banwell.
I mean, are there any particularly interesting anecdotes that you can remember from the time working on those projects?
On the liquid side, Beta 1, say we used to go down to Aberporth and fire out from there. The interesting thing was they were sort of delta wing version, and the wings were filled with ping pong balls for flotation purposes, so that when the vehicle landed in the bay, high-speed launch out to pick them up. And our chief designer was in the boat one day, and the aircraft came down, and out they went, and as he reached over the side, it went glug, 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 and disappeared. All that work for nothing. Yeah, gone.
Are there any other stories that you can think of?
Well, not on the liquid side, no.
What about on the solid propellant work that you did?
Yeah, well, solid propellants, early stages there, we were trying out various pieces of equipment using 5-inch rockets, and we used to use these at Lark Hill because it's relatively short range and it was easy to recover. Nothing particularly interesting, it was just routine firing that one day it worked and another day something would go wrong, and other contractors that were in similar situations round about would have a good laugh until it was their turn. And we could laugh at them because it was all early days and very much hand to mouth. The only nasty experience we experienced down there was on a Wednesday. And Wednesdays, the artillery used to fire 25-pounders, and they used to go over the top until they mislaid one day, and they landed on the Doppler building and the buildings beyond while we were still there. Destroyed Doppler, and fortunately none of us were in there at the time. But it's the only time anything ever went wrong. 35-pounders, okay, they were on reduced explosive charge.
You don't really want one of those landing on you.
No, no.
Reduced charge or not.
No. No. That was early days, and it was really hand-to-mouth stuff. We would be there and prepare our particular little vehicle on a Wednesday. Thursday was usually firing, and recovery was made then, and Friday back would come the information back to the workshop. Friday would then start work on a bit of redesign, quick work, and it'll be worked on all weekend. So at the beginning of the following week, they were off on another circuit. So it was a week's turnaround between one firing and the next.
It must have been exciting to work.
Oh, it was very interesting from that point of view. I mean, I'd be on occasions at Larkhill and see what was going on, and come back, and we'd be in the design office on a Friday and deciding what we got to do before we could go any further. And it meant the factory would be busy all weekend, and even night work as well. They'd work right through to make sure that the early part of the following week there was another vehicle ready to transport to Larkhill.
So if they did a launch which failed or didn't work as well as her, were you examining the remnants, as it were, of the system?
Certainly, yeah. A certain amount of it was, well, they got to go out onto the range with the half tracks and pick up the bits to recover. Oh yeah.
And I mean, if it was over water, I mean, could they recover stuff there? I mean,
well, there's no water at Larkhill, only mud.
Right.
Yes, it's not funny in the winter actually down at Larkhill.
Is there anything else you can think about that springs to mind that we ought to get on record?
I don't think so. I'm sorry, I can't be any more help to you.
Well, the thing is, it's like all these things. It's all little bits of the story. Trying to get them all together. Really,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Each of you've got slightly different perspectives on what went on, and slightly different stories. But it all links in together. And I just hope someday or other somebody will sit down with all of this stuff and put it together and make something of it. But the important thing is just getting you chaps on record at this stage, really.
Well, things have got so much more sophisticated, if I can put it that way, today. More, in more recent times, to what we were doing.
Yeah. Well, you still managed to achieve a lot, though.
Well,
right, thank you very much.